Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello, it's 20 to 5 on Friday afternoon, 2 days before I run a marathon on Sunday. Generally trying not to think about running the first marathon, so I'm feeling very relaxed, not much stress. This morning got up, hit the pool, did a few run-throughs there and sat in the spa for a little bit. I've done no real exercise this week, so a big recovery week after all the prep and training and whatnot that we've done preparing for this over the last 3 months. Actually had a parma because it is a Friday and a pub meal, and I figure I'll work that off during the marathon, and I'll probably have pizza tonight, followed by more carbs tomorrow to load up for that. So overall, Friday's pretty good. Not on the Friday beers though. Staying off them heading into the marathon for obvious reason, but hopefully I'll enjoy one on Sunday. Hello everyone. I'm 1 day out of race day from running the Melbourne Marathon tomorrow. So far today I've enjoyed a yoga session this morning, had a coffee, relaxing at a cafe, and about to go for a massage. Today I'll be having plenty of pasta and carbs ahead of the race, preparing, laying out all the gels and the food and stuff that I'll have during the race, and getting the tape ready as well as all my clothes and everything for a beautiful 5:30 Sunday morning wake up to do the run. And just generally relaxing, loading up on carbs and having a lot of fluid today. I've been a little bit dehydrated this week, so trying to increase water, so that come race day when I'm losing a lot of fluids, I've got a good baseline. Other than that, I'm feeling pretty lazy and a bit of a man of luxury today, but we'll go watch a movie and just have a very quiet night, I think, in preparation for my first marathon. Good morning, everyone. I'm about an hour out of race day, just having a light breakfast, getting all the running gear on, sorting out all the tape, the gels, making sure my AirPods work because many hours of running without music would not be fun. Other than that, it's still dark. Waking up at 5:30 on a Sunday is very different to normal Sunday, but looking forward to heading down to Rod Laver Arena and running a marathon into the MCG today.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society and what the hell that even means. Well, you have just heard there from Ryan Ebert on the Friday, the Saturday, and on Marathon Sunday. Just before he did the race, he was having a light breakfast. He sounded quite groggy, to be honest. You've now finished the marathon, or we think you finished the marathon, Ryan. Firstly, well done. And did you finish the marathon?
Yes, I finished the marathon, and I think if I had my time again, I would have a coffee and then record the Sunday morning one. But that was, I think, 5:32 in the morning, 3 minutes after waking up, that I recorded Sunday spiel.
I think it's super impressive to even be up at 5:30 on a Sunday morning. I think a lot of people get home at 5:30 on a Sunday morning. So kudos to you for even being up and then knocking out 42.2 kilometres.
Yeah, I think it's the first time I've ever actually been up 5:30 on a Sunday morning, not arriving home.
Well, we'll break it down for us. Obviously, it's a 42.2k sort of marathon. So maybe break it down into first 10, second 10, third 10, fourth 10, and then that last little 2.2Ks if you can.
Yeah,
how'd it go?
So really interesting experience. Very glad to have ticked it off the bucket list. Would do it again differently if I ever get crazy enough to run a marathon, or if I have my time again. So the first 10Ks was really interesting. So we found out that there was more than 7,000 people doing the Melbourne Marathon today. And then the Melbourne Marathon has a Melbourne Marathon, half marathon, 10 and a 5K as well. And there was over 30,000 people doing that. And I got to raise a few dollars for the for seeing iDogs Victoria as well, so that was nice. But because there was so many people, the first 10Ks, I was very grateful that I did interval session work, which is, you sort of, I did mine in 45, 50-minute bursts on the treadmill, where you're kind of cruising along at 10Ks, and then you move up to 12.2 from anywhere to 14Ks for different distances, because you're running with so many people that the pack, I would even go as far as saying the pack didn't spread properly until probably close to the 20K mark. But definitely the first K, the pack did not spread that you were running. But I was pretty lucky so I passed the guy, so I started a little bit further back. So I started with the 4:30, like 4 hours 30 pace people, and passed a guy who said happy birthday to him, because apparently it was his birthday. He had a little logo thing on the back of his shirt saying that it was his 70th birthday today. So that was just generally awe-inspiring, and that was probably in the first K or two. So at that point I was just like, there's so many different types of people running this, and some amazingly inspiring people. But the first 10Ks was really zigzagging and trying to overtake people and trying to sort of just get into any form of rhythm, and I found it really hard. The next 10Ks I got into a really good rhythm, and by the end of that I caught up to, instead of being with the guys that were trending at 4:30 an hour, I shaved all the way down into getting ahead of the guys that were pacing at 4 hours. So I'd done a lot of catch-up work, but in that time I ran the first 20Ks probably as quick, if not quicker, than I did a half marathon 2.5 months ago. And that was partly because probably got caught up in the energy. Like, the atmosphere is great. You're running with thousands and thousands of people. It's feeling really good. So I'm hammering this first sort of 20Ks that I did well into like an hour 40 or something like that, which was quite good. But got a bit amateurish and just caught up in the environment and thinking, I'll mentally carry through. So Ks 20 to 30 were an absolute nightmare. And by that stage, we'd run from the city, we'd gotten down to St Kilda, for those who know Melbourne, and then we're sort of running along the almost like you can see the water, which was nice, but it was very, very long stretches with no change, and then people running the other side, and you're kind of sitting there going, when am I going to turn? When am I going to be running on their side? Because I'm just running further and further away from where I've got to run back. Mentally was a little depleting. So 20 to 30Ks was very, very painful. 30 to 35 was utterly brutal. I'd hit the wall a couple of times by that stage. I'd definitely punished by going a bit too quick early on, and you get into some probably poor self-talk. So you really got to check yourself and that kind of thing. And then from about 36 to 40, so that sort of 30 to 40 was a little better, but definitely painful. And then that 36 to 40 was very tough as well. And then that last kind of couple, like, my whole body was destroyed by that stage. The other big thing is, my time again, I probably would have, and maybe my fault for not looking into this, with a lot of the training that I did, it was a combination of grass and road. This entire marathon was 42 Ks on road, which is brutal for, the knees, the hamstrings, the calves, the ankles, the everything. But yeah, so that sort of 36 to 39 was still not great. And then from about 39, I got an insight into probably what I'd be running like when I'm sort of 60, 70 years old, because that was probably about the pace that I was going. But mentally, you start to become kind of go, yeah, I'm towards the end here, and you sort of get into that end. And the last 2Ks was tough because you hit the city, you climb a hill, a small hill, but after 40Ks, any sort of incline is just painful. But then after you hit that, you sort of then come down and you head towards the MCG, and you get to run into the MCG, and you get to do your last 400 meters running around the MCG, which that in itself was absolutely surreal. And that was just, again, I was running as if, if I'm hopefully still running when I'm 60 to 70, probably a good insight into what that looked like. You barely being able to tick the legs over or whatever. Your body is absolutely spent, or mine was at least anyway, because I'm not built for long distance running, and it was my first marathon. But just the feeling of running in the MCG on the grass towards, with these other people. The last 2Ks was much more bearable, but probably from about 23 to 39 was utterly brutal for me.
Wow, that's a long time for things to be hurting so much. Like, that's the best part of, I guess, probably an hour and a half-ish of feeling really crummy. How do you feel now? Like, you finished the marathon, maybe 9-ish hours ago. How do you feel? How's your body feeling now?
It's pretty tight and sorry for itself. It's not too bad. I think tomorrow will definitely be challenging. When we finished the marathon, I met my partner TK. She went to Jollymont Station, and I got to change shirts and swap shoes, which was very good, because I think at about K14 the blisters sort of started. So that was very painful to carry those for another 28 odd Ks. But and that was even taping feet and all that kind of stuff that you learn with all your training prep. But we probably walked 1.5, 2Ks to a place to a cafe that we wanted to go to for a very, very late brunch. And that was good, and that was what a lot of people advised me to do, just keep moving. And then after that, when I got home, we're very lucky where we live. We have a pool, we have a spa, and walked along the foreshore in South Bank for a little bit today, just generally kept moving. So the body feels pretty good at the moment, touch wood. But I think tomorrow I'll need to hit the pool just to actually function as a human being tomorrow morning.
Well, it is fair enough. You've done something you've never done before, especially 42 Ks any time is difficult, but running that on roads is particularly difficult. Did you? I know you beforehand, and as a lot of things with you have goals and things you want to do, and you had a time frame that you wanted to complete your marathon in. Did you manage to get that time?
No, unfortunately not. Yeah.
Close. How close were you? Honestly, completing a marathon of 42 Ks is just unreal. Anyway, but how close were you to, I guess, your ideal time in inverted commas?
Yeah, I was off it by a bit. So my ideal time I would have liked to have got, and I was probably sitting at about 38, between 38 39 Ks when that time ticked over.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit hard to swallow.
Yeah. Has running this marathon inspired you to run another marathon now in another location, or do you think this is just
definitely not.
I was going to say a bucket list that's ticked off one and done sort of item?
Yeah, this is a bucket list ticked off, done. I'm super happy to have done a marathon. I probably set the time a little bit too ambitious.
It was very ambitious for a first marathon. Yeah.
Yeah, and
you're not Kenyan.
No, I'm certainly not. No, my physique is definitely built for sport and sport that involves sprinting. But I think the race strategy that I had, if I looked back on it, I probably could have gotten, I don't think I would have gotten my time, but I think I would have gotten a lot closer to it if I hadn't gone so hard for the first half marathon. That being said, my half marathon time, I was stoked with.
Yeah. World record split.
But I definitely ended up paying for that one. So, like, if I run a normal half marathon in the time that I did this marathon, I'd be pretty happy with it.
I can completely understand. Now, you mentioned the first 20 Ks went okay, and the next sort of 16-ish Ks or the 16 Ks from around that mark were really hard. Was there any point in there that you felt like you just couldn't go on, that you wanted to stop?
Yeah, there was a couple of points that I do recall. Probably about 2 or 3 times at different intervals. I think at around 25, 29 and 33 that I was pretty much like, if there was a car that drove up right now and just said, do you want to be done with this? It would have been a very hard conversation with myself to say no. I would have been highly tempted. So yeah, there was a number of times actually where I was just like, well, I don't know about this. And that's when it gets really hard, because then you just sit there and you go, oh, 14 Ks to go. My feet are feeling like lead. Everything's hurting. My hamstring, I'm worried, it's about to go. I've got a blister on that foot. And just got to find a way to, I think, mentally change your self-talk is what I learnt in this run. And that was hard, because there were other times during the run where you're feeling that good that you're like in an utter zen, like an absolute meditative state. You're, off with some fantasy thing that you've thought up and that you're just absolutely entrenched with, and your body's just ticking through, and it's blissful feeling. There were other times in there, like there was one time where I kind of got, I don't know, one of those second wins. That was actually quite emotional. And that was like thinking, all right, well, I'm doing this, but not for myself, but for a lot of people that have supported me with this. And, we've raised some money and that kind of thing. And it was actually not too far after I passed somebody who was running with a guide, and they were actually blind, and then I'm raising money for Guide Dogs Victoria.
Wow.
So yeah, it was really you go down into the race at the MCG, and you get your medal, and I just bumped into a guy next to me, and we both got our medals around the same time, shook hands, hugged, and it was just ecstatic. Didn't even see the guy while I was running or anything like that. And then a bit after that, you a bit like, I don't know, everyone's a bit different, but this was a big ticket item for me, so got a bit emotional, a little bit teary, and was just like, oh wow, I've actually done this. So the high and the euphoria that you get is definitely balanced with some of the utter lows. That's just like, I literally just feel like curling into a ball right now and stopping this pain. But I suppose that's part and parcel of it.
Yeah, well, I guess the thing is, like, 7,000 people running the Melbourne Marathon, admittedly in different waves and those sort of things. Like you're aiming for around 4-ish hours. People run it between sort of, if you're Kenyan and you're running the world record, just under 2 hours, and people running it up to 6 hours as a cutoff. Like, it's a long time, and there's no real support. Everyone's really focusing on themselves because they have to. They're going through the same thing you're sort of going through. How did you pass the time? What did you listen? Can you listen to things while you run? Did you listen to things while you run? What did you listen to?
Yeah, I set up. I definitely wanted to go sub 4. I think the cutoff was about 7 actually. So people were sort of given, and there were a number of people that even on the track that I would have been surprised if they came in at the 7, because it can be brutal. But I set up a running playlist, so I just listened to music the whole time that I was running. funnily enough, I was running that long that I did have to carry so I got the Apple AirPods, so listening to music through there. And I did at various times have to actually like put them back in the charger for another 500 meters kilometer because the battery ran out, which gives you an idea of how long you're running for. But no, so I just set up an entire playlist that was it was just called running. But during that, like the music's on in your background and you're thinking, like it's great because, you know, in your head, you solve all the problems of the world while you're running for many, many hours.
Even 4 hours of music, 4.5 hours of music, like I'm not sure I even have that much music on my iPad. I'd have to end up just going through random sort of music on my iPhone anyway. Even like it's a long time to go without, or I say go without food and drink. How do you take in food and drink while you run?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I had a protein bar on me and I had 2 gels. So the water stations, I'd say, were on average sort of every 3 to 4 Ks. So you are able to constantly fuel up with water and then, as I said, sometimes electrolytes. And there were so many spectators. Like it was just lovely to see so many people out and about, and so many of them had bought lolly bags. So, you know, Allen's lollies or mixed lollies in just plastic containers and that kind of thing. And like just little kids that are holding out jelly beans for everyone that comes through. And they kind of, you take a couple of jelly beans and they want to give you a high five. And so there was a good amount of opportunity to, I guess, replenish, but without having the food to begin with. Like by the end of it, I was very hungry. But the food to begin with, a full protein bar, 2 gels, and a number of lollies along the way. Also, at a number of the water stations, they did have bananas as well.
So that's during the race. What have you eaten post race? You went out for brunch. What was post race?
Post race was scrambled eggs on sourdough with bacon, halloumi, and mushroom, which is quite a lot for me on a Sunday, but I devoured it.
And a coffee and a lot of water?
Coffee and a lot of water. Since then, I've also had a muesli bar, a fruit juice, so a juice mixed with spinach, banana, apple, strawberries, cucumber, and carrots, and a whole pizza for dinner.
A whole pizza? Well, that was part of your pre-marathon routine. At that point, I was like, oh, sign me up for a marathon. And yet Friday was a parma and a pizza. Sign me up.
Yeah, Friday was a parma and pizza. One thing, the last couple of days, I've basically gotten to eat whatever I wanted, so that was great. I would have probably, if I had my time again, been a little bit smarter throughout training, because I kind of went, well, I'm training for this marathon. I'm just going to eat whatever I want. So there was kind of a bit of a balance that was there. But the last 6 weeks, I've definitely been able to enjoy whatever food I want.
Well, which is well deserved, the amount of running you were doing in the lead up to. How much did that really eat into, I guess, your life and your other activities as well? So it was like a 5-6 week training block. Like, did it eat into other sporting activities, your life in general? What did that look like in the lead up to the marathon?
Yeah, so 5-6 weeks has been the ramp up, the intense ramp up. About a month before that as well, I started training, and that kicked off with 2.5 months ago. I did the Run Melbourne half marathon, which doing that kind of made me go, well, maybe I'll run a marathon, because I've at least got a base for a half marathon here. So I sort of did that, started a little bit of running training, and then probably about 2 months. And the 2 months consisted of predominantly long runs on a Sunday leading into the race. So I did 11 Ks last Sunday. I did 10 Ks the Sunday before. And if I keep reversing it, I did 33 the Sunday before that, which is sort of, in hindsight, I probably would have done about 35. But you kind of aim to get to about 75% of race distance but you don't actually run your whole race, is what all the training programs tell you to do. And you sort of aim for that at about 3 weeks, and then you start to taper off. And then before that, I did 29, 25, had a week off. Before that, I'd done 25, 21, and 18. Was sort of the Sundays runs that I did for the 2 months leading in. And then halfway through the week, I would do a 45 to 50 minute interval session, which would generally be about 8 to 9 Ks. I'd run 400 meters, I'd say 10, again, lucky where we live, we have a gym on site in our apartment complex. So I had access to a treadmill plus pool and that kind of thing, which is one of the reasons I was pretty keen to do the Melbourne Marathon, because I had everything available to help me, I suppose. The interval sessions were very helpful. The long run sessions were very helpful, but probably would have liked an extra month of training in hindsight. And then I kept doing, twice a week. I do Tuesday, Thursday morning exercise classes. Still played indoor cricket on Monday, so that's not overly strenuous physically, and we were still finishing hockey season. So from an impact on my other sport and other physical activities, it wasn't too much. The program that I was doing recommended 3 sessions. So in addition to the interval and the long run session, I was supposed to do a sort of 5 to 10K pace session every week. But I sort of went, well, I'm training twice in some pretty intense exercise classes, plus still playing hockey. I could probably give that one a skip, which I did. And so from a sporting perspective, didn't impact me at all. From a life perspective, you need to have 2 hours worth of training a night. So I've been managing quite a bit of stress at work, I suppose. Knowing that I was going to be managing quite a bit of stress, I thought this marathon would actually be a really smart time in my life to counteract and balance that. But yeah, definitely had to speak with my partner and be like, I'm basically going to be out running half a day every Sunday, because it's not only you think the 33K run that I did, that's a good 3 hours of just, 3 hours 10 of just running and numbness. But then you're wrecked after that. So you're not doing anything afterwards. You've still got to jump in the pool and have a bit of recovery, or just have a shower, or those kind of things. So really, and you're preparing for that run. You don't just go, okay, I'm going to chuck on a shirt and run 33 Ks. You've got to tape up your nipples, because they freaking hurt after 33 Ks. You've got to tape up your feet. You've got to, like I've seen the physio half a dozen times during this period. Again, benefit that I have, and hugely lucky in that I work in that space, can commit to the time with this, because it did mean saying no to a fair few things during the weekend. It also meant saying no to a number of Saturday night dinners or catch-ups with friends at the pub during football finals, because when you've got to run 25 Ks the next day, the last thing you want to do is wake up after 4 pints of beer. So it does take planning, is what I would say.
Well, mate.
And I'm glad that I took your advice to do it pre-kids, before kids.
Yeah.
I think I would have been in a lot of trouble.
I was about to say that, but, well, congratulations. You've completed a marathon. You've ticked something off your bucket list. You did it all with, having seen a photo afterwards, barely putting your hair out of place after riding 42.2 Ks. So Maddie and I are both really proud of you. You've ticked this off your bucket list, and we've been through your bucket list episode. You've done the marathon now, one and done. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. And I will say, for a good friend, Matty, I'll come out of marathon retirement to run one alongside him if he takes the bucket list challenge on.
Well, I believe that's going to be at base camp. Book that in. Anyway, that wraps up for this week. Remember to subscribe to Daddy Eats Last on iTunes if you haven't done already. And while you're there, please leave a review. Also, tell your mates about the podcast, especially if they are guys. Most of all, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week for another episode, or should I say serving, of Daddy Eats Last. How's that for a dad joke? Catch you next week.
Bye bye. Bye bye.